I know. I'm like beyond myself. Like really.
We are live now, by the way. So I always wait because the audience knows that I don't even start talking unless I get 50 viewers live.
Right.
If I don't get 50, I just cut it and they can wait till next week.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah, good, right? Hey, real quick though, I'm just looking at that. Did you design the logo there?
Not myself, no, but I hired somebody to do it out of Dallas, Texas.
Yeah, it's good, man. It's simple and it's good and I like it.
Yeah, it was great. You know, I've had a relationship with the designer for a long time now, and we talked about what I wanted the brand to be, just like from a macro 30,000 foot view, and he came back with this design, which I'm super happy about. I'm like, it really says everything that I want the brand to mean, and it plays on the my history as the last Electric Night and Disney and all of those kinds of things. So yeah, I'm super excited, but I appreciate that.
Awesome. So I see people already jumping in. Hello, Mr. Brown, Miss Geely, Mr. Lama, Mr. Myers. So people are popping up, but good. Ernie, we've been doing this show for years. Why haven't I got you on here before?
I don't know. This is I guess timing is everything.
I guess so, right? I mean, it is an exciting time, and I want to talk about it. But look, the people that are chiming in. By the way, folks, don't panic. Tassoul's just having some technical difficulty. Oh, here he is. He's just popping in. We're going to get him up here too. Here, let me just bring him up. Bink. And there he is.
Hey, sorry, I'm having some serious technical difficulties over here.
And you still are. Your internet, you're choppy.
Oh man. All right. Well, I'm working.
You're here. That's good.
That's all that matters, right? So Ernie Reyes Jr. is our guest today, guys. And for those of you who've been watching this, we've had some different people on. We've had MMA people on. We had Chael Sonnen. We had Hackelman. We've had Herb Perez. Did we have Greg Jackson on, Tass? Can't remember.
Not yet.
Not yet. I can't. Fred Dagerberg. Ernie, you know Fred, right?
Yes, sir. Of course.
Yeah. So love Fred. And I just was asking Ernie, why have we gone so long? Why haven't we had Ernie on the show? So I'm excited. Everybody loves you, man. You know that in the martial arts industry and anyone you come across. As a matter of fact, what's interesting, Ernie? One of the guys here that works for us here, who was one of my original instructors back in '89. His name is Ernie Palesco.
Okay.
We all came from J. Kim from Baltimore, Maryland. J. Kim Karate. Okay. And you guys, when you were younger, and your dad and the West Coast demo team, you did a lot of stuff with J. Kim. And on the movie, there was a movie that Ernie was actually in too, but Ernie was the guy that was holding you as you were doing pull-ups and was in the movie. So yes. I don't know if you'd remember him, but
I do. I do. And this was, what time period was that? Would you say late 80s?
Yeah, it was 80s. Yeah, late 80s. Yep.
So, in about I'd say mid 80s, 1986 was kind of a real kind of turning point just in like what my dad was even doing in the West Coast schools. We started to go from like, what is, an actual, business, and we have to run it as such. It's not just, hey, if you can't afford it, it's all good. Pay whenever you can. Post the people who are late up on the board and cross them off if they paid. It was, I grew up in a time period in the late 70s, early 80s when martial arts schools were in backyards and in garages and little hole in the wall places. So in the mid 80s, that started to change, right? My dad started looking at, implementing agreements and that kind of stuff, which was just like the basic of it all, right? And so in the late 80s, we saw Kim's karate and what he was doing, and he was really had like a successful organization with multiple schools.
Right.
And so that was always something. I was just a young kid, but I could identify that and go, wow, this is a serious businessman and has a great business here doing what he's doing. So I do remember those times, and we did do a movie because he had dreams of doing movies. So we did a movie. And actually, there's something on YouTube, and you can find it, and it's hilarious. And but it's those are good times,
They are. And by the way, not to interrupt, but Tass, Mr. Schwartz is glad you made it on.
Thank you for the concern.
No, man, it's good. Mr. Schwartz, good to see you. But yeah, man, he told me about that Kim's movie and stuff. So a lot of people in Central Florida, at least, a lot of us came from Jay Kim's because he was from Baltimore and spread all the way down the East Coast.
That's amazing.
And opened a ton of schools here in Florida and stuff. So
yeah, that's cool.
That's it. So Ernie, so man, listen, I love you, man. We've been talking forever and ever and ever, and I've known you for I want to say probably 10 years or more, probably a little more, maybe now.
I think probably more, but yeah.
Probably more, but let me ask you now. A lot of things have going on. You're doing things, but before we even talk about stuff you're doing,
yeah.
Obviously, you're in the entertainment business, but you're a martial artist first and foremost. And I always say that about Tass and I. We're in business, but at the end of the day, we're all martial artists, right? And of course, your dad runs one of the most famous schools in the world. I mean, world famous demo team and everything else. What do you think COVID has done to our industry? And what do you think the good and the bad and the ugly are from your perspective and the doors that have opened and that can lead into what you're doing? But what do you think is the state of what you're seeing in our industry right now?
I mean, it's, been pretty much crippling for the greater majority of people. I mean, when you can't open, your doors and your whole model is based upon, people coming through the doors and training, and now all of a sudden you can't do that, that's a devastating blow for the greater majority of the people. It doesn't matter whether it's yoga, martial arts schools, dance. Like, I have kids, so now all of a sudden we can't do this, we can't do that, we can't do anything, and so I know it's not just the martial arts, it's across the board. So and there's so much, I'll say that there's so much, I guess, I don't know how to call it, negativity in the world and all the crazy shit that's happening everywhere, and just life in general. So I tend to always try to look at things from a positive perspective. I have health issues. There's all kinds of things all around that if I go into anything other than having like a great attitude about life, then I am just in a rabbit hole going down very quickly. So I try to look at everything of, okay, so this is the reality. Let me observe what's happening, and then let me see, how to look at it as a point of growth, right? Because anytime you're in adversity, anytime you have resistance or adversity or pushback, is the time that you have to level up. Otherwise, you're flying in your comfort zone and you don't have to change. You'll never change if you don't have to change, right? But this forces everybody to kind of look at things differently. I don't think it's going to be like this forever, right? This has happened in humanity, many times, and you find a way to solve it. So we won't be in this situation forever, but we're here now. And so you have to adjust, I definitely, told my dad as soon as that started happening, hey, you got to go towards going online, and you got to Zoom everything.
And just curious, just curious, from your dad being old school, How did he feel about that initially? Was he like, "You're absolutely right, let's jump," or was he? What was his thoughts?
No, it was I felt like I had an empowering conversation because I've been living in this world a little bit longer, and it's just about kind of framing it in a positive way, right? And I do know that because he has an organization, it's not just him. So it's like I can have a conversation with him and say, hey, this is like where the opportunity lies. Oh, that's awesome. Now he has to go and kind of rally the troops. Not everybody has a positive reaction to that. Like, what we do, that's not what we do, right? And so you kind of have to win people over. But in the end, people will do it. There's many things that I do online training, for. Doesn't matter across what it is. It's like, yeah, I'm going to sign up for that. Why? Because I don't have to go to wherever I need to go, fly across the United States, get in a hotel, do all that. I can go and we're going to have an online training of some sort. So he made that pivot probably to initial resistance. And then once they realized that the student body was happy to be connected and still maintain community, because that's kind of what it's all about, right? It is about building community, whether it's live and in person or whether it's online. When you're totally cut off and isolated from the world, you have to connect with people some way. Otherwise, you just go crazy and so it's just about maintaining that community, whether it be testing, whether it be tournaments. I know that they're having record numbers when it comes to their tournaments and their testing, because now instead of my dad only being able to be in Santa Clara, California doing testing, now we can do testing all across the country.
Right.
And everybody can tap in. And so now it doesn't cost the school in Tennessee all that money. And how many students can you bring for the tournament coming to California, and the flight and the hotel and this and that and whatever. And then the cost for the venue on my dad's side, the gymnasium and this and that. And so, it's a pivot in order to survive the storm, right? For however long it may be. It may be this month, it may be next month, it may be this year, it may be next year, it may be 2-3 years. Of course, it's going to come back, but what are you going to do in the meantime? And to me, that's where the online, opportunity, online learning, you see companies like Masterclass. Anthony Robbins is doing a platform called, mastermind.com. And so there's a lot of learning platforms. You see a lot of growth in YouTube, people learning on TikTok, crazy things like that. So, of course, it's in the very kind of early stage of things, but I think this is the world that we live in. And soon it's, VR and AR and voice and all these different things. And I think that there's a tremendous opportunity for the entire martial arts industry as a whole to go into a whole new era, and the traditional model still works, and I still believe in that because, I have kids. They need to go somewhere and have fun and learn skills and, interact with other people and that kind of thing. It can't just everything be online. But I believe that there's a huge opportunity there.
So Taz too, if you want to jump in, but we got to do this, Ernie. So here's the deal. All of these people, right? We got to be serious and talk about some of the serious stuff that's going on. And then you got to share about the what you're doing right now. But
okay.
we will take questions, right?
Yeah.
But we're going to ask you about, everybody loves you. A lot of these people grew up watching you on TV. We got to ask about some of your movie stuff a little bit, ask what you love. But right off the bat, we're going to start easy. Here's a question right here.
All right.
Do you know how many students you have had the honor of teaching throughout your career? Now, Ernie, do you keep your stats? Do you keep your numbers?
I'm starting to, and that's as crazy as that sounds, because I know that that's an important thing to do, and I've been hearing this since 1986, right? And going in one ear and out the other, But you know, I remember in the mid '80s to early '90s, I would go and open up schools for different martial arts school owners. So they would bring me out. We would do a grand opening event, and inevitably they would, in the mid '80s to '90s, they would sign up about 100 people. That's what I was doing at Kim's. And it was during that time between Sidekicks and Ninja Turtles when I was kind of at the height of my popularity. And we did that literally all across the country through other business consulting firms. They would, you know, all their school owners would bring me in, and then they would open up a school. They would have a pizza party. They would do something, grand opening event. I would do a mass intro. And then I would talk about how the martial arts school in the local community is such a great thing, and how the owner of the school was somebody of great reputation. Otherwise, we wouldn't be there. And I would do a demo with my dad, and they would like mass enroll people.
Right. And
So
by the way, I want to be clear though. When you say they would enroll 100 people, we're talking they didn't enroll 100 people that day, right at the grand opening. Is that what you're saying?
I was saying that they were enrolling people. They were taking money.
Yeah,
there was money being taken.
I'm just saying, you're not saying it would take them a year to get 100 people.
No,
they were enrolling that day.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad, because this is stuff that we talk about, right? Through mass intros and a system of grand openings. And by the way, you were doing that in the late 80s, early 90s, when nobody really were doing mass intros. And then when we post stuff out there where you can enroll 40, 50 people in a day, people don't believe that. But
that's true. And listen, I've had all different moments in life and times at different places in my life where, and I've talked to you about this, I want to open a school, and you know, and but I've seen it done successfully, you know, many times. And so I know it's very, very real. Even more recently, it has nothing to do with me per se. I happened to be the event, but they would do a mass, we would do like a school event where, you know, the entire elementary school was invited to an event at a martial arts school in Arizona. And it's just like a demo and a pizza party, and it's all fun. And next thing you know, you got paid intros, like 30 people in a day. I think there was like 60. This was like just a year or 2 years ago when I was doing this. So I've seen it happen, and I know it's very real. I know mass intros are very real. So to have a system, I guess, you know, is the most important thing, so that it's repeatable.
And just Mr. Blackman here, growing up and training in SoCal, who were the original members of the West Coast demo team?
Original members of the West Coast demo team was my dad, George Chung, Cynthia Rothrock, Margie Betke, Belinda Davis, Scott Coker, Gary Nakahama, and myself.
And by the way, I bet you a lot of people don't realize Scott Coker was a student of yours, of your dad's. And Scott Coker is the CEO of Bellator, everybody, who runs Bellator. Great guy. Really one of the good guys. And still has that martial arts way about him, you know?
Yes.
Good guy.
Yes, he's not a student of mine, but he's a student of my father's.
Right.
Yeah, he's very committed to the martial arts way of life. Even when he sold Strikeforce, there was a couple of years there where he was kind of he was just basically taking a break, and he went back to my dad and tested for his next ranking, and spent the 2 years or whatever leading up to that test to have his testing, and then before he went on to becoming the CEO of Bellator. Yeah, but yeah, he's, you know, what's funny about Scott is that when I was 8 years old, he was, I think, probably around 17-ish. This was the original West Coast demo team. when we were traveling and all that. And he actually was one of the people that I emulated my kicking style after when I was a young kid. He was like the teenage, kid who could jump like crazy and had the crazy kicks. You might not be able to tell that looking at him now, but yeah, he was somebody that I really looked up to as a martial artist back in the day, and still today. A tremendous respect for him and what he's done. As a businessman, as a promoter, and what he's just continuing to do for martial arts.
Really. Tass, jump in, but before we do, I'm going to ask the audience a question here. Hey guys, put in the comments, just as we move on, just for fun and engagement here, what is your favorite Ernie Reyes Jr. memory? Whether that was seeing him perform, seeing one of his movies, if so, which one? What's your favorite Ernie Reyes Jr. memory as we're in the martial arts community? And Tass, what do you got there, buddy?
I have a feeling Taz has a different memory than a movie.
I've got a good memory.
Vegas.
Yes, in Vegas. It was a good memory. But but before that, here's the thing, man. Like, I remember like putting in the VHS tapes, and this is when you and your dad, you guys were doing a lot of the instructor trainings for some of the other consulting organizations. And
right.
the boxing forum to the Rocky, soundtrack. Yeah. And we were, our guys were learning that. And it was so cool back in the day because we're a traditional Taekwondo school. We hadn't seen that stuff. And so to see that, of course, I'm in Wisconsin, right? So we're like, everything takes forever from the coast to get to us, right? So we see this stuff, and it was amazing, and just really, really enjoyed it. And then, went out to Vegas for the Super Show, and I was walking. I was ahead of you, and you were walking. I'm like, oh man, there's Ernie Jr. and his dad, and I'm like, and I could feel my heart pumping, right? Because this was like one of my first times in Vegas. And I'm seeing these celebrities, and my heart's pumping. I'm like, I'm doing it, man. I'm doing it. So I turn around and I go, hey, Kansas City, and you busted out laughing, and it was just fun because it took everything in me to be like, do I do it or don't I do it? Like, because I didn't know who you were, but yeah, it was a great memory, man. We had a good laugh about it. It was fun. That was a great movie. Great movie.
Cool.
By the way, Ernie, how often do you hear that line?
Yeah, here and there, along with "Okay, hip hop." Yeah.
Hey, let me put some of these up. Here's some of the favorite memorable things. Miss Perez, the dance when he kicked the guy in the crotch in The Last Dragon.
Oh yeah, I was doing my little popping thing back in the day.
Was that improvised, or did they tell you they wanted you to do that?
No, that was so by the time we got to The Last Dragon, we from the time that I was 8 to about when I was 12 is when we were competing and traveling pretty much every single weekend, doing, competing. And then at nighttime, whether we made it to the finals or whatever was happening, we were also doing the demo for all the major tournaments. And it seemed like they were happening every single weekend, or at least we were doing a demo every single weekend. And what was the question?
Was it improvised, the dance?
Oh no, yeah. So I just started flashing back to being 8 years old again and going, man, because it was a whole other world. Those tournaments, it was a subculture. It was a real thing, right? It was a subculture that nobody really knew about unless you read the Black Belt magazine or that kind of thing. But it was a real thing with all the fighters and all the celebrities and it was, and they were packed arenas. It was like a real thing. We're talking about late 70s, early 80s, from that whole time period. But that's when we were traveling, doing the demo, sponsored by Sentry. They gave us our uniforms and all of that kind of stuff. This was like 1980, somewhere around there. And so we had done our demo, we had down pat. By the time we got into movies, we were just doing what we had been doing at every martial arts tournament, performing at nighttime for the last 5 years. So when we performed on the set for The Last Dragon, they had flown us out there, and it was kind of like we're meeting Barry Gordy. This is the founder of, Motown Records, Dr. Ross, the Supremes, big time talent guy, and we're about to go do our demo. So we go out there and we do the demo. Scott's with me, my dad, everybody, the demo team. And so we go out there and we do our thing. And we were dancing back in those times when we were doing demos. We had wigs and it was comedy and we were dancing. And it was like, we were doing stuff in the late 70s where like satin uniforms and disco music and, and it continued to evolve or whatever. But by the time I was 12 or 13, that was all kind of that routine we had done it every weekend for 5 years, and every martial arts event possible. So we got on the stage. It was like we were just doing our thing. And that was all incorporated into our demo prior to getting into films and television. But a lot of those fight scenes that I did back in the day, early Last Dragon, Red Sonja, even Sidekicks, a lot of those were all just like little bits and pieces of stuff that we had been doing, since I was a young kid. But yeah, that was fun. That was amazing. It was the first movie, and it was like Motown, Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee was my hero growing up. Like serious. I was that kid. Like I was serious. Like I wanted to be Bruce Lee so bad, And I would wake up before school and I would train, and then, and then I just happened to have a dad that was like in it, So it was like, I'm living the dream, We were poor, and it was just, we were just about it, you know what I mean? And so now here I am, and I'm in Hollywood, and I'm, Bruce Lee's in the movie. How does he do that? He had already passed away. And in the movie, he's like in the movie, he has his fight scenes and all that stuff. So it was just an amazing, amazing time, The Last Dragon.
I think all of us at one point, that was probably all of our favorite movie at one point as kids in the 80s.
Yeah, for sure.
And then Mr. Blackman, I remember back in the late 70s, early 80s, Simon and Philip Rhee going to San Francisco? Is that it? Competing with you guys?
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, I was little. I remember those guys too, the brothers, Simon and Philip Rhee. Those guys could kick like crazy, super fast, right? They had their thing, and they had their style of hands too that was like real sharp and crisp and kind of flashy, And so those were the awesome time period of martial arts. Like for me, like growing up, it was such a pure feeling. It was just good time going to the tournaments, seeing all the people. But yeah, Philip and Simon Rhee. Yeah, I remember competing. We were in the same division because it was like musical forums, creative forums. So.
And real quick, on the competition circuit, Ernie, how old were you when you started competing in the adult division?
8. Yeah. 8. I think I was maybe 8 or 9 in there. Yeah, my dad put me in there. He's like, well, we're winning too easy, these other tournaments. I guess we're going up. And, I think that there were some people that were probably, there's a kid in the thing. And it's like, how do we beat this kid? It's a kid. He's cute. Everyone's cheering for him. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, so, but, those are amazing times. John Chung, George Chung, Charlie Lee, Cynthia Rothrock. Those were all the people that I was competing against and standing on stage with at the nighttime finals. And it was pretty much the same people every single tournament. You know what I'm saying? And then Jean Frenette came in after a while, was, from Canada with the straight up sidekick. And there's a cast of characters, Arlene Leamis, Lady Kung Fu, previous to her becoming an Olympic, medalist, all those people. I've been fortunate and blessed to see the evolution of martial arts in America from the late 70s. And I was a young kid, like everybody, when I was in there, it was no kids. Like it was me pretty much. There was like a couple of other kids, but it was not that, it was adult. And it was, Ray McCallan and all these different cast of characters, right? And so I believe that some of the stuff that I got to be part of, like Sidekicks and like Ninja Turtles and things like Karate Kid, and opened it up to a broader demographic than what we're training in the late 70s to early 80s.
Wait,
Go ahead.
I got a question about that, Ernie. So,
Yes,
you look back, you think about how progressive you guys were back in the day, and even today, I would say, if you put you in front of anyone today, it's unbelievable. And that mindset, and I'm thinking, man, how do you create these? I mean, we talked about this years. Metzger and I talked about this years ago when we first started introducing weapons, because we're a traditional Taekwondo school, and so weapons weren't really our thing, right? And I remember Metz saying, we just got to get someone that just really takes off with it, that helps to encourage everybody else, and they can see what's possible. But I'm just curious, if you pull back behind the curtain a little bit in your school, what are you guys doing today? I guess in when the culture of your school. So is your school run like is there a big gymnastics portion? Do you have that part of your curriculum? Do you do, how do you indoctrinate these people and give them that level? Is it something you do later on when they're advanced students? I mean, how do you continue to develop that culture over time, knowing that there's a lot of traditional martial arts schools, right? And you have this fight sometimes with, well, there's this curriculum and then there's this cool stuff, but we know the sizzle is what sells the steak, so to speak. So just curious on, how do you do that within your schools today to develop that level of talent? What does it look like in your school?
Yeah, well, so I got to delineate something real clearly. So the base of, the West Coast schools, which is my dad's organization, is based in San Jose, California. So the greater majority of the schools are in Northern California. And then there are schools throughout the rest of the country. And so the way that he does things on a, day-to-day basis, is a lot of it is the culture over the course of time, I believe. They've been doing it for so long that one person that kind of, catches hold of doing the commas and whatever. There's so many of those people now at this point that
Right.
the culture kind of breeds the talent, right? Because now there's 3 or 4 of those kids in every school. Right. And then every kid that's coming up is a little bit more advanced. But, I don't know, because I'm not in those schools day to day. That's not where my focus of attention is. Right. That's I'm involved because I deal directly with my dad as father and son. And so we talk about things and we share ideas and that kind of thing. But I'm not actually in the day-to-day school. So it's very foreign to me, although I know it. I'm not there day to day to see how they do things. I know that they produce talent inevitably. Like it's a guarantee that there's quality, and a lot of it has to do with, I believe, my dad's training system, the way that he teaches his teachers, and it's all very all the details and coaching cues are laid out. So that creates a certain kind of form. And I do that a lot with my fitness program. It's the little details and coaching cues that become regular. So if you teach a sidekick, it's like, what are the coaching cues that have to happen in order for somebody to have good technique? So he's done that for everything. So if you have a grappling pattern, it's not just the pattern, it's the coaching cues that help people have the proper form and technique while executing the pattern. Right. That's a key component to it, because you can just say, go from this to this to this to that. But if you don't have the coaching cue, then they're just going to be repeating the same thing that isn't necessarily the proper form and technique. So like, say, for instance, when I'm teaching, basic kicks, front kick, side kick, round kick, back kick, I know the coaching cues that I need to have in order to, it doesn't even matter. I could almost blindfold myself, right? And not even see it. It's like, I know heel up, toes down, and what to do. Okay, how to rotate. And then little exercises that you do to that are kind of predecessors to actually doing the movie. You can't do a good side kick if you don't have, you know, the basic stabilizing muscles that are even strong enough to hold you up and stand on one leg, right? So little things like that. But my dad has a very clear-cut curriculum. It's culture-based at this point. It's 50 years, you know, being up in the Bay Area or whatever. I mean, it's just, they've got their thing happening, you know, and it's the commitment to the people. There's just a lot of people that have been around for 20 years that are like kids.
Right.
These kids are like mid-20, like you're only 26 years old, but you've been around for 20 years. 20 years. He's got a lot of those people, you know. And I believe it's a lot of has to do with just the culture.
It's incredible. I mean, you know, I was talking to Metz, and you know, he Metz. And I don't remember if he grew up in the organization or if it was. I think it was later in your training where you're introduced to slow kicks, right? Yes. And I'm like, man. When we had the conversation, I'm like, I felt like I was robbed. Like we never did that stuff, you know? And then I learned about it so many years later, thinking, man, if I would have started that when I was 9, if I would have started doing slow kicks at 9, it would have made a huge difference in my training, right? Because of, like you said, some of those cues and some of the different things that in the ways in which you teach. But I also think that, you know, when we all, you know, us old guys all sit around and talk shop, I think part of the reason why there's so many great memories is because the time, effort, and energy that was put in. I mean, when I trained, I remember going to 4:30 class, the 5:30 class, the 6:30 class. You know, that's really what we had back. I think it was 4:30, 5:30, 6:30. It was 3 classes, all ranks, Monday through Friday. And I went to 15 classes a week. I was there early, stayed late. And now, with the exception of people that maybe are on your higher tier programs, I think I speak for the majority, but kids are coming to class 2 days a week for 45 minutes. It's hard to generate and get that kind of talent when that's the kind of time. They've got to do a lot of time on their own or be in one of your higher level programs that allows them to come more. But to be able to have those stories in the future, because no one's going to get to where they need to be doing this 2 days a week and reach their potential, right? I mean,
that's correct. I mean, you know, I tell people in my fitness program is that, you know, there's no secret, guys. Like, I hate to tell it, like, break the news to you. It's correct reps, okay? And that's where the mastery of it comes in, right? Bruce Lee talked about it, right? He said, I don't fear a man who knows 10,000 techniques. I fear a man who's practiced one technique 10,000 times. Right. And so it's like you were saying the other day on the call, Mets. It's like it's repetition. Yeah, you hear it one time and I know, OK, yeah, retention. All right, I got it. Yeah, you kind of got it. And then you hear it again and now you got it a little bit more. And then it goes. So, you know, how long does it take to become great at doing a side kick? You know, it doesn't just take. I learned it the first day, but it's not good. You know, it's like, you know, yeah, you know how to do it, but it sucks. Like,
you might hurt someone's feelings.
Well, then you got to get your feelings hurt.
That's my boy.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what it takes, you know what I'm saying? And so, but you know, going back to slow kicks, that's the first thing that I do when I teach kicking. Right? It's like I teach slow kicking first, because if you can't, you need to develop the proper muscle structure in order to perform the technique. So before you start striking, let's work on the muscle, the structure of those muscles, those small stabilizing muscles that you're not used to standing on one leg, right? And let's do that and get that going. That's going to make your technique 10,000 times better, 10 times faster than if you just are doing it over and over and over and you haven't developed the proper strength and flexibility, right? So we do the stretching and we do the strength and conditioning that's functional to the kicking and punching or whatever movement. So it's like whatever you're doing, you need to do functional training. That doesn't necessarily mean doing a kettlebell. It can also mean doing slow kicks, right? It's kicking, it's functional. You're not going to kick somebody doing a slow kick. But if you do slow kicks as a strengthening and conditioning component to your training, when it comes time to executing it, you're going to be in a whole other league.
Right on. That's great.
So Ernie, speaking of cues and everything, so we talked about what you're doing now, and I don't know. I think everybody here probably knows or can imagine how many times people have wanted you to come out to their school or come out and perform or go do a demo or can I learn from you or I want to fly in and get a class with Ernie. Professional. We won't even mention names, but celebrities, rappers, sing. They want to get private lessons with you, and I'm talking some high-profile celebrities want to learn. And then with the whole, I'm assuming it was the COVID thing that really pushed you over the edge to take action on coming up with what you're doing now, which is the kick punch, right?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Okay, so I've been, I got certified to do. I was always kind of like, I don't want to do this, that. I was a kid. I grew up in martial arts schools from day one, right? I saw, so it's like by the time I was like ready to do certain business, I was always kind of internal conflicted. I want to be a movie star. You know what I mean? Skill owner, movie star. I'll take a movie star. It was always kind of the conflict for me. But at the same time, being a movie star is kind of feast or famine, and it's very short-lived. And all of us you can't sustain a family being a movie star unless you're a movie star, right? And that's not my reality, right? I'm not getting paid $20 million to make movies at this point, right? And so I have a family, so I had to and it's like kind of turning the Titanic. It's a kind of slow process because it's not easy to let go of that idea of what you're supposed to be doing and this idea that you're supposed to live a certain way and numbers are kind of crazy. You know what I mean? Because you grew up and you're a teenager and you're making how many thousands of dollars per week? You know what I mean? And you have assistants and then it's like, no, that doesn't, you have to come back to reality here, right? So, I was pushed to go online when we were 30 days into COVID. The first 2 weeks, it was like, yay, all right, glamping at home with the family and it's great family moments. And it was like, all right. Then 2 more weeks went by and I was like, okay, guys, I'm seeing the writing on the wall. This is not, we're hoping for a quick turnaround. That's just where my mind went. I immediately went and I've been on dialysis for 5 years, okay? And I'm very thankful to the martial arts community because when I first got on dialysis, my sister started a GoFundMe and I didn't know what was happening. It was just doctor comes in, we're putting a catheter in your chest, you're starting dialysis for the rest of your life until you get a kidney transplant. Okay, boom, rock bottom. Okay, this is 5 years ago, right? The martial arts community, starting with my dad in the schools or whatever, really rallied behind me. I was like, I got a family and I don't know what to do. I didn't even know which way was up at that point. And so I was able to get on my feet and get back to a sense of reality of okay, this is a new way of living, but I have to keep going, right? I got young kids. I got a family to take care of. I can't roll over and die and just say, hey, I'm disabled now. I'm too young, And so I had been doing personal training about the time I started a family, because I didn't have a school and all of that. So I got certified by the National Strength and Conditioning Association, which is a top tier, organization. It's not a small course. It takes a lot of studying to kind of pass that course. I became certified as a personal trainer, and I was in Newport Beach and was doing personal training. For the past, I'd say 10 years or so, I've been working with high net worth, high profile clients, doing personal training. First starting out in Newport Beach and then kind of moving back and forth to LA. And so I have been in the world of fitness for quite some time, meaning not teaching martial arts, mom, 2 kids, whatever, looking for a good workout. I would always incorporate my what I do, right? Because it's a fun way to differentiate yourself in the world of fitness when everybody else is doing whatever they're doing, right? And the fitness world is saturated with people, that have their niches, but a lot of people didn't hold pads for clients and that kind of thing, right? And when I also went through the educational process as a fitness trainer, all my martial arts training turned different to me. Because before it was always about practical application, right? I do a side kick because I love doing side kicks, because when people jab me, I can defensive side kick them, right? And so that was just giving an example, right, of it, right? And so it was always about a practical application. When I became certified as a personal trainer, every movement became an exercise. And I couldn't help but think about the Shaolin Temple in the beginning of like martial arts in terms of the storytelling of it is that, when Bodhidharma arrived at the Shaolin Temple, the monks were so that they had to train their bodies to even get into a condition where they could meditate or do anything else. And so they started doing these movements, right? And so all of the things, even the basic things that I had learned in Taekwondo, inside block, outside block, I'm like, hey, I started looking at it from a biomechanics standpoint. What is the body doing? Shoulder external rotation, internal rotation, right? Flexion of the shoulder, right? Extension of the shoulder. All these moves started to mean something different to me in the form of how somebody would look at an exercise versus a practical application for fighting, right? Every kick, front kicks became, oh, this is how you're going to work your core and your quads and your hamstrings and your glutes and everything. And when you break those things down, like slow kicks or 4-count kicks, those kinds of things, that's what starts to happen, right? You start feeling all the muscles that are actually employed when you're doing the kicking. So I have been in the fitness world and thinking in the world of fitness and martial arts and the combining of those worlds for a long time now. To a month into COVID, I'm sitting around with my kids and they're bouncing off the wall and we're just sitting in there. I'm like, I can't do this. I get on the transplant list in Scottsdale. Nobody is in the hospital. I'm like literally the only one. So I was able to do all my tests to get listed at the Mayo Clinic in Arizona because there was nobody there. Nobody wanted to be at the hospital. This was like right when COVID was like jumping off, right? So I was getting to do all my stuff that normally takes 4 or 5 months. I did it all in like a week's time. Just went from one appointment to the next and whatever. Right. And then I came back to my kids and I was like, listen, we got to do something because there's every other kid and parent that's sitting at home and their kid is jumping off the wall and they need to exercise. They got to move their body. And that's kind of where the kick punch really came into fruition. Up until that point, I was developing a workout, right? And so it has been on my mind. And I think that we've talked about this as well, Metz, but this kind of pushed it over the edge. It's like, okay, now I'm going to actually do a product. I'm going to launch and I'm just going to go. And if I'm embarrassed, that means that I've done it at the right time. I haven't gone too late. If I'm not embarrassed by what I'm doing out there, then I've waited too long, right? I got to start. And so that's what I did. I went, and before I even had the program really, I created a little marketing campaign on Instagram. And I was like, I'm starting this thing. I'm looking for some original members so that I can get feedback and use your testimonials. And I'm going to launch on a wider thing after that. I signed up my first 10 people, made my first $5,000. And I was like, okay, I'm in the business, and I'm keeping track of my stats now. I've got 10 people. Yes. And that's what it's been, and I've just me, and I'm slowly developing it, and my goal is to have 1,000 people, and ultimately I want to get to 10,000 people. I want to be able to scale to the size of an organization that I see like the ATA, but this is fitness, right? And so that's my goal. But there's a lot of things that seem rudimentary and basic, like when I listen to you guys talk about how schools, it still all applies to everything that I'm doing online. And I'm no master at any of this. I'm just starting like everybody else. But as an encouragement to everybody out there, you know, everybody starts with 0 followers.
Yeah.
So everybody started with 0 followers. So, you know, it's a time to be able to build things. And so what I've done is created a fitness program. I have the Ernie Reyes kick punch system, which is 26 core movements, 16 kicks and 10 punches. That's the whole system. Similar to a yoga system, right? And why? Well, it's based on what I do in training, right? With real people and real fighters. It's not all this other stuff. It's very simple.
So where could people like just check it out just to see what you're doing?
Yeah, so you can go to kickpunchclub.com and you can sign up. I'm doing free trials right now. And, you know, you can get on there and work out. And it doesn't matter whether you're a martial artist, you're not, you know, a lot of it is for people that have no martial arts training, right? But I also have people that are martial artists that are signing up too. They just want to work out with me.
Right. And that's live, right, Ernie?
Yes, it's live. Yep.
Yeah. So there's a schedule or something, right?
Yep. Yeah. I have classes, an adult class at 10 a.m. They're half-hour classes from 10 a.m. to 10:30 and 10:30 to 11 Monday through Thursday for the adults program. I have kids programs that are from 2 to 2:30 and 2:30 to 3 Monday through Thursday as well. And then I have one advanced class on Monday and Wednesday at 4 p.m.
So let me ask this question, and there's a reason I'm asking it. You know, but with all the stuff you had mentioned a couple times on the show, your health, the health issues that you've been going through, kidney dialysis, you're on the list. We've talked about it. You told me that hopefully very soon you may be getting that kidney transplant, which would be amazing, right? How is your endurance like for a 30-minute fitness class? Is it a world of difference compared to what it was 5 years ago?
You know, I can pull when it comes time to perform, man, I pull it out of the hat. However, I just make it happen. You know, it may feel a little bit different, but I always can do my thing. The other good news is you don't have to be the guy that's sitting there going 8 more, 7 more, 6 more, and you're doing it with. You don't have to do that. You can do that too. But you just gotta. The coach doesn't do that. You don't go to a football practice and he's out there, whatever. He's the one telling you what to do.
No, but the reason I bring it up, though, my friend, the reason I bring it up is because, listen, how many of us in the martial arts community, unless you're scared, right? If Ernie had you scheduled a Friday, like a Friday, a special time, it's the Ernie Reyes Jr. Fitness Challenge. Can you keep up with Ernie Reyes Jr.? It's 30 minutes. You keep up with me. We're going to kick some ass where everyone can get on there and take the Ernie challenge and see if we can keep up, because I don't know if everyone knows this either. So I don't know out there if you guys know this, but Ernie, you did some professional Muay Thai fights too.
Yeah, I did.
Right? And if I remember right, you went undefeated, right? What was
Yeah.
And what was it? 5-4-0?
4-0, yeah. Strike Force.
4-0 in Strike Force. You know, like that's the high. I mean, look, you're at the highest level of that of a fighter. I mean, right? And the shape that you had to be in. I mean, are you thinking during that period, would you say was the best shape of your life, or would you say
yeah, right in there, like in between, like from 99 around 99, it was like 20 years ago, 99, for about, I'd say from 99 to around 2005 was like top being in shape. And that changed when I started fighting Muay Thai. That changed my whole like outlook in terms of like training hard and whatever. And you know, I've kind of gone through lots of peaks and valleys, you know, as training, and that's what happens. You know, it's just life happens and you have kids and you're this and that's up and down. I'm starting to hit an uptrend though now because I'm doing so much online training. I'm constantly moving around, and honestly, a lot of it is I've done it, a lot of it for my own self too, right? Because it keeps me accountable, right? I just started I've been doing a Sunday stretch on Instagram, 5 minutes, 5-minute Sunday stretch. I get on there and I stretch for 5 minutes. I do my little stretching routine that I do every time I work out, right? And I started today. I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do daily. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna do it daily. I do it anyway, so I might as well just turn the camera on myself, right? And do it. And now I have content, right? Because content is king, in this world that we live in terms of, media. And everybody, whether they like it or not, in the martial arts community is now become a media company, whether you like it or not, because that's your way to communicate to your audience. And you have to produce media, whether it's outsource it from people, get whatever the ads or whatever. Well, now it's videos and content, and you have to be able to do that. So now I'm just like, well, I'm gonna do it daily, and it's really all about trying to give value for me. The core of my business starts with how can I give value, and I did learn that from my dad.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. But as you do this, right, with the martial arts community, right? It's a small community, but still it's a big, small community, if that makes sense. But how cool would it be for all of these people? I mean, there's things up here. People are saying Ernie's a legend. Ernie's a legend. I grew up watching Ernie. One of my big influences while doing Muay Thai under Scott Marlowe was you, right? If there was something,
here's what I would say about that. So yes to all of it, right? Because this is an everything must go sale. It's like yes to everything. That's the place I'm in my life. Yes, that's it. So.
Well, I just think it would be a big audience, right?
Yes. But here's what I say, because this is what's reality for me in training, right? And I also work out with, I do fitness. So I train people and they come to me and they pay me, high dollar to work with them one-on-one. And so, but, I'm not in the world of CrossFit training. I can do that. It's a very small number of people that are going to work out and take themselves to this kind of triathlon level of like whatever we think is supposed to be the thing. That to me is not what I look for in my martial arts training anymore. I look for my martial arts training to recharge me, not deplenish me, not to wear me out, whatever. And maybe that's because of where I'm at just in my own personal life and whatever. But I have a feeling that the majority of the people are where I'm at. There's probably a few people, go sign up for being a Navy SEAL, go do whatever you need to do, okay, to do that. That's not what you're going to get from me. You're not going to get the hardest workout in the world. I could do that, but nobody's going to enjoy that. And nobody's going to come back for the next Ernie Reyes Jr. workout. What's going to make people come back is feeling good, is feeling like, hey, I got a good feeling. I got a good workout. I've recharged. Why do people go to yoga class? They don't go because it's the hardest thing and whatever. They go because it gives them a certain feeling that at the end of it, they want to get that feeling again. And that's what I will say, as a predecessor to any of it. It's not going to be what you think. It's going to be fun. It's going to be relaxing. It's going to help you reset your mind and recharge you. But it's not going to be the Spartan race. It's not going to be, that's not my lane. I can do that for very specific people that are trying to go and do specific things in cages and in rings or whatever. But that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is the global impact that we can make by inspiring fitness, health, happiness. It's much more in the middle of the road than it is extreme anything. I'm not looking for that. I'm just looking for, something that leaves us wanting to see each other again. If I work you out and kill you, you think you're going to want to come back to me? And it's the same thing with the martial arts school. It's like, think about it from a fitness standpoint. Hey, make sure that they have fun and feel good when they leave, not demoralized that they can't do shit.
Yeah, right. So listen, Tass, this is our opportunity. for everybody watching. We always try to give everybody something, a lesson, right? So when we talk about upgrade programs, right, there's a lot of people that upgrade programs have a negative connotation to upgrade programs, right? Because I want to teach all of my people, treat them all the same, all the same, all the same. You just heard Ernie say, not everybody's the same. The majority of people want to get that good feeling like, oh, I just feel good that I got a workout, this, that, and the other. However, Ernie, for just $20 more a month, they could take the Ernie challenge every Friday to get their ass kicked, right? And by the way, I'll sign up, right? Here's my 20, but Tass won't. I'm kidding, Tass.
Waiting for the next one.
Yeah, he wants to go to the higher one.
Yeah.
But my point is, my point is you're exactly right. If every class was like that, the retention would be horrible. However, how do you cater to everybody, right? Because what if I'm not me, but a person is just in just some better shape and they're doing your classes because they love you and it's great and there's a curriculum. You have a curriculum, right? You have a curriculum.
Correct.
However, if you want to, for just $10 or whatever the thing is, every Friday we do an Ernie challenge.
I love it.
And this is where it's like you challenge yourself, and we're going to push. And for a lot of people on here, I know a lot of people on here. I see the names, recognize some names on here. I know there's some people on here that would be like, oh man, I'm pumped. I want to do the Ernie challenge and just get my ass kicked and see if I can keep up with the legend, with Ernie. Once a week or once a month or whatever. And then you chart that and see how they can get through this 30-minute intense thing. So that's what I was saying. I was saying it more of as a shtick, as a one Friday, an Ernie challenge type thing. But you're exactly right. And I think people need to understand that in their schools too, right? You get the mom, if the mom joins with her son, the 18-year-old son and the 40-year-old mom, are you going to put us in the same class? Well, for the beginners and the basic program, well, what about a year from now? Are we still in the same class? Because I want something different than my mom, right? And that's where you can offer it if you want, but it is an extra thing. It is not part of the kick punch system. Like, this is how much the kick punch system is that's going to get you in shape, recharge you, make you feel great. And there's no upsells in that. That's it. But I also have this add-on if you want it, and you can do this, and that's kind of the point, because I think that'd be awesome. First of all, just to train with you for a lot of these people would be awesome.
I love it, and that's for me the entry point of it all is, hey, let's get together and work out, and I can share to you what I believe is a great way of teaching kicking and punching. To me, after 40 years of martial arts training, this is what I've come up with. That to me gets people from A to B as fast as possible, and then is scalable in terms of intensity. And I'm willing to share that with everybody, because I believe that it's there for as a tool, and for me to just have it and use it, I might as well share it with other people, And you don't have to do my system, you don't have to do any of that, but I believe that I have a way of doing it. And it can lead to things like, for school owners, things like, STEM and that kind of thing, incorporating, getting into the school systems, because we know that a lot of it's on character development, right? We teach martial arts, we get into the school systems because we teach respect and discipline. And when you start to get into the world of fitness, and really it's just putting on another hat. So for all you martial arts school owners, what you don't realize is that you're also personal trainers, right? So your demographic is like this, being a martial arts guy, and those same movements, but put under the guise of fitness, your funnel has now just become that, where I can see that. And that's basically what I'm able to do with the system, is to share with other martial arts teachers how you can present this in a way that becomes purely fitness. And then you can, add a program to everybody has a cardio, kickboxing, this and that, but this is a specific program and a system that I'm happy to share with people. So that's what I will also do in the process of kicking your ass.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, thank you.
So awesome, man. Tass, any other questions here? And by the way, Mr. Mormando, he said, I'm down. Not sure I can last at this moment. Just watched him on Instagram. He still kicks amazing. God bless. Hey, let me say this. I started at 8 years old or 7 or 8 years old in northeastern Pennsylvania at a Heidi Ochai school.
Oh,
when
wow.
I started. Yeah.
Yeah.
You remember Heidi Ochai?
Yeah, of course. He was that was my period of competing, and he was amazing. He was actually one of my favorites, to tell you the truth. There was a lot of flash back in the 80s too, right? Everybody's doing their thing. And this guy had as clean as basics that you're ever gonna meet, you know. And I always dug his style.
And by the way, like you said, I was like the only kid, right? And it was so structured and traditional. I would always get there early. This is just a little story. Tass, I think you know the story. I'd always get there early, get in the dressing room. When I first started, I was 7 or 8 years old, and I'd have somebody tie my belt because it had to be perfect, right? I would get in there and have someone tie my belt. I remember walking in the dressing room as the last adult was walking out, and I was in there by myself. I stayed in there the whole class. I did not come out for class. Then when I tried to sneak out to go to my mom's car when she was out there, the teacher says, Mike, you weren't in class? No, why weren't you in class? Didn't know how to put my belt on, sir. Why didn't you come out and ask? Well, because I was afraid of you, sir. That's why I didn't come out and ask. So I stayed in the dressing room, did not know how to tie my belt. That it was just so culture. So, I mean, look, you remember early 80s. It wasn't a really fun place. I mean, not there anyway. It was very serious, man. And it was just crazy. So anyway, are you still with us? I was like, wow, I was like, Ernie really loves this story. I think we may have lost you.
Yeah, he's either that or he's frozen. Oh, there he goes.
Oh, he's gonna jump back on. But anyway, guys, I see some other questions here, and of course, I think as martial artists, go on YouTube, go watch an Ernie Reyes Jr. tribute video. Yeah, Ernie, we lost him, right? And check him out, but he'll probably just jump back on here. Probably, I'm thinking in a second here. But anyway, guys, if you have any last questions, if he jumps on, we'll get it over to him. And we appreciate you watching. We wanted to have a little bit of a lighter show today and just hear from Ernie. And Tass, anything else on you? He's texting me.
Oh, okay. No, man, I think it was great. I just remember, and I remember seeing him perform. You know, seeing him on the videos is one thing. And I said this to you yesterday. We were actually watching the video and talk about this. You know, how fast his spin hook kick is, right? And I said, and if it's fast on film, you know it's fast, because I remember watching videos of myself when I was younger, man. Like, that was such a good break or board break or a good sparring match. And I'm like, I was so fast, and I'm like, oh my God, that was like way slower than I thought I was. So what I thought I was fast, and I watched that, I'm like, no way. And it's just interesting to see. So yeah, seeing him and then seeing him in person, you know, just performing in person, and the talent and the skill, and you combine that with his Hollywood theatrics and the facial expressions and everything else. It's an incredible individual to watch. And you know, I think sometimes that type of martial art, right? If you West Coast and some of these higher level demo teams, it's like the black belt factory, right? Like, we get that in the business side. I think some people on the martial arts side sometimes think, well, that acrobatic crap and the gymnastics, that's not. But I tell you what, it's absolutely impressive. There's a lot of work ethic and time that goes into doing all that stuff. And anyway, we're just talking.
There he is.
Sorry.
Junior's joining us.
Yeah, sorry.
No, Ernie, we were just talking about, you know, I was just saying, my point of the Heidi Ochai thing was, I've been in martial arts a long time. And if people haven't seen you, I mean, I still think out of almost 40 years of being in martial arts, you have the fastest, cleanest kicks that I've seen. I mean, you inspired me when I've seen you live, you know, in person, throw throw some of your kicks, man. And then, I think also for inspiration, can you find your Muay Thai fights on YouTube? Are they on there?
No.
I couldn't find. I just wondered. I mean,
they are.
Well, what an inspiration.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
They're locked in a vault somewhere. I don't know who owns them or what the deal is. They were part of the Strike Force library, so I think that might be a UFC thing, or I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but hey man, we appreciate you being on here. And again, it's kickpunchclub.com, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, kickpunchclub.com if people want to check it out. And Ernie, we're gonna see you at a super show again?
Yeah, are you kidding me? I'm all in. Like I said, I've been trying to figure out exactly the direction of, what I'm doing and where I'm going and, how my life's going to unfold. And, there's a lot of things that have happened more recently. I'm not sure. And I don't mean to end this thing on a downer, because it's part of the reality of things, So my dad, was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And
well, Ernie, I didn't even know that. I don't think I didn't even know it was stage 4 cancer.
Well, yeah, that's kind of like a more recent thing. He had been dealing with this like quite a few years ago, and then it was all fine. And then these things have a tendency to kind of come back. But it's just you have to find a way to be grateful and. Sometimes, the way that life works, it leads you to certain places in life. And for some of it's younger or older or whatever, where we have to kind of make choices and decisions. And, I've been able to find a way for myself to give value, in a way that's not sitting around waiting for movie parts or chasing Hollywood. My daughter, which I will mention, is in a movie called We Can Be Heroes, which is like the #1 movie in the world. It's a family movie. It's about kids superheroes. And she has a couple little fight scenes in it. And so, things have come full circle. I used to be on the set with my dad. Now I'm the dad, and so, I'm
by the way, Ernie, I want to just tell everyone that's on Netflix. And when we talked the other night, and before I even knew that, it came out like on Christmas or over the holiday break. And my little 6-year-old, I said, "Oh, look at this show that just came out." And we watched the show. She watched the whole thing and she loved that show. And then I talked to Ernie and he's like, "Hey, my daughter's in a new show." And I'm like, "What? We watched that show." So very, very cool.
Yeah. So things have come full circle. We're at a different, where we are on the timeline has never been, we've never been here. Things are different. Life is different. Everything's different. We have an older generation of people that, are just at where they're at on the timeline. And so, I'm trying to maintain a positive point of view. There's lots of things that are very serious and very, the way that they are, but I always try to keep a positive point of view. Think that that's part of what we all get out of martial arts, right? Is that we become a certain way, even in the face of adversity. We look at it as, like you said at the top of this, as a martial artist first, and so I'm excited about the time. There's a lot of things that keep it very sobering, like my health issues or my dad's health issues or this or whatever it is. But I think it's important for us to all, rally right now and stay connected and build community. And I know that that's what you guys are all about, and it is inspiring. I'm telling you, like, I'm not BSing anybody. It's like, when I see the things, social media, whatever, in the middle of whatever I'm doing, if I'm going to jump on and watch one of it's value that you're giving to people, including myself. Right. It's like, okay, well, now I can do that. My school might be a virtual school. There is no land location, but that's also partly because it fits into my life. I'm going to be getting a transplant, and I'm going to go here, and I'm going to have to still be able to teach my classes from wherever I go, wherever I go. If I go, help out on my daughter's movie, next summer, I have to be able to still do my thing wherever I am, remotely, mobilely. So, I'm excited about the future. I'm excited about the people that are actually moving the needle within inside of the martial arts industry, like Maya and Sentry, and people that I've known for decades now. And now we're moving into a new era. So I'm excited to play my part in that as well.
Let me leave this, and then Tass, you could have the last word, but you said something. Hey, everybody, listen. So Ernie, you said it's about community, and everybody pay attention. Look at who we're on with, right? Again, mid 80s, watching you on Sidekicks or the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or The Last Electric Night, which was the pilot for Sidekicks. Sidekicks, I think, was the spinoff for that. My point is, Last Dragon. Look at our community, guys, and look what happens when we as a community come together, as opposed to rip everyone apart because you don't agree with their system or their style or how they're running their business. And that's just shitty. I mean, look at how good this felt, right? Yeah. Having this circle, having access to Ernie Reyes Jr. or anyone in the martial arts community, the Scott Cokers, who's the CEO of Bellator now and ran Strikeforce and is still a martial artist. I mean, we need to stay together and come together and grow together as a community. And, if you can, I mean, obviously everybody here knows this is a free show. Tass and I don't, commit an hour every week. There's nothing here, but you should tag your other martial arts friends to watch this show. And I've never said that before, I don't think, but because of Ernie on here and some of the insight, talking about the movies, talking about what you're doing, and just some of the knowledge you were dropping, I think that's bringing the community together, and I think that's so important, because with this social media crap, and by the way, I am not on social media. I'm not on Facebook much. I mean, even Shelby, who works for me, she has my username and password. She'll go in there and post something for me, right? And so it's just, it's not something I'm on. But when I do go on, it's not hard to find negativity. It's not hard to find somebody making fun of somebody else that may have put out a video of them doing something or talking about how they run their school. And it's just ridiculous. And this felt really good, man. It felt really good.
Yeah, that's cool. And let's figure out a way where everybody that was on today, and maybe even people that aren't, that we can have one day a workout for 45 minutes.
We could do it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
For free. Everybody just get together and whatever. And then if anybody likes what I'm doing or whatever, then they can, work out with me regularly.
So by the way, Ernie, I mean, you post this so everyone can follow you on Instagram.
Yeah.
And what is your Instagram name or handle?
My handle is Ernie Reyes Jr. And then I also just started Kick Punch Club as well.
Kickpunchclub.com. And then Ernie, I think, you and I can talk about it, but we set up that day, time and a day for the martial arts community. Post it out there. Let people do a workout with you. It'd be awesome.
I would love that. Absolutely.
It'd be awesome. So thanks so much, man.
That would be great. Yeah, thanks, Ernie. It was great chatting with you. And I think you had hopped off before, but are you going to potentially be at the Super Show this year?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, my computer died. I didn't realize we were having a 3-hour conversation today.
Right. Yeah, we're just getting ready for the 5-minute stretch. Then we got another 2 hours.
Well, that's great, man. That's great. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you in person in Vegas.
Yeah, me too. No, I'm very excited. I'm very excited. I'm more excited than I've ever been, including to go to super shows, including to talk to school owners, including to, get more involved in the community as a whole, which I feel like, because my focus has been film and television for so long, it was like I was there, but I'm not focused on that community necessarily. I'm kind of just being a celebrity at the super show versus somebody who now has, a virtual business that is based on martial arts movement. And I just feel like I'm part of the community, and, it's just, I'm just excited.
That's great.
And by the way, somebody asked, can that be something we can even make even bigger by inviting our students?
Yeah, yes, you can do what you can do is when we set up the Zoom or whatever platform we end up using, you can tune in from your school. And if you have 100 students, you can all be in there working out. Just put it on a big screen, and then we'll just go from there.
There you go.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Ernie.
It's yes to everything.
There it is, man. Well, dude, just touch base if you need anything. I think Michael Perry emailed you earlier with the link about what we talked about. It'd be awesome if you get a chance. And
100%.
if you need anything from me, call me, let me know. And
yes, I will.
We'll talk soon, of course.
Yeah, we're going to stay on it. And I had a great time today. And this really is the future. And it's the feeling, it's the camaraderie, it's the community, and it's going beyond the lines of whatever your style is and this and that and whatever, and just aggregating all the people all across the world, that are in the world of martial arts. And that is a huge, powerful community. So I think that what you're saying is right. Shed the negativity and figure out how to all work together so that we can, rise the tide.
I agree 100%. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it, man. And feel good. Have an awesome day, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Get ready to get your ass kicked.
See you guys.
Thanks. Bye-bye, everybody.
See ya.